Adrian Fernandez then, championship leader, starting in 11th place, but he's been quick over the course of the weekend. Perhaps qualifying wasn't quite as good as he might have expected. I had an interesting conversation with Tom Brown, the engineer of Helio Castroneves, who's qualified in 19th place. He reckoned that the difference between Helio finishing up in the top 4 and finishing in 19th place in qualifying as he did was less than 1 millimetre of ride height. The car just hit the road through turn number 2, and even though he was flat out, it was just enough drag on the car to slow it down, and that's put him down in 19th position. One lap to go until the green flag comes out and the car's beginning to jostle for position. On board with Bobby Rahal, and this is the view as they've started now to build up towards the green flag. Now Bobby starting in 9th position, there's Gilles de Ferran, and he's starting in 4th position on the grid. There you are, you 3 leaders. You've got the 2 players full-size cars. We've also got the onboard camera here with Richie Hearn. Good effort from him in qualifying. He's 13th on the grid. There's also an onboard radio with Richie Hearn. There's one with Michael Andretti as well, and on Bobby Rahal. So we'll try and listen out for some of those radio contacts. Here we go though. We're getting ready for the start of 225 laps.
Downhill into turn 3, it'll be an uphill grinder here up to the start-finish line to begin to pick up pace now. The starter wants a nice, clean, fast start from Patrick Carpentier. He's on the throttle, there he goes, the green flag.
Patrick Carpentier there leads into turn number 1. Greg Moore dutifully slots into 2nd place, and the field blasts past our commentary position, and it looks pretty safe so far, but look at this battle for 2nd.
Michael Andretti on the outside there in turn 2, down, he takes the line away from Greg Moore into turn 3. Fine move.
Well, we've got a yellow flag, cars off, and Adrian Fernandez, our championship leader, is off, and that's a story straight away. Now, is there any damage to that car? A little bit difficult to see what's happened yet. He's on virtually the entrance to the pit road there, and Adrian Fernandez, the man, of course, who's got a 4-point lead in the series, the winner in Japan, is in trouble already, but we haven't yet seen exactly what caused that. Now then, let's see if we can see. Going through turn number 2, watching down in the midfield area, and there's somebody lost it on cold tyres.
That was Fernandez. Yeah. He just coming out of the corner. There's somebody making a move down the inside there, going down turn 3, taking advantage of several other cars slowing up. But yeah, coming off turn 2, it wasn't in the middle of the corner, it's coming off the corner when you're on full throttle. He just lost control of the back end of the car, and around he goes. It's a very cold day here today, Ben.
Yeah, that's certainly something that everybody is aware of, that on cold tyres these cars were going to be difficult, and Adrian, it looks as though he's just been caught out by that fact. The temperatures are really down here today. There you are, there you can just see the car beginning to get out of shape on the inside there. The back end steps away, he puts on the corrective lock, but it's just stepped out too far by then. He hits the brakes, everything's locked up, and you can see there's a bit of jostling going on behind him. A few cars trying to take advantage of that, and Adrian Fernandez, drama already before this race really even got underway. Astonishing for Adrian Fernandez, and just concern down there in the Patrick pit. They just hope he can rejoin this race.
Which club does Oliver Bierhoff play for? Real Betis, FC Porto, or Udinese? It's your turn to play. You have the chance to win one of 3 pocket video game stations with a football simulation game offered each week. And that's not all. You could also win a Eurosport cap. Call the hotline right now and you'll get an extra clue. And good luck.
Speed World is back. Only this year it's faster. This year it's louder. This year it's more intense. A new format for top motor action from all over the world. Speed World, Wednesday afternoon at 1800 CET, 5 UK on Eurosport.
With Raderstein, designed to protect you.
The Fiesta's in Spain this Wednesday night because it's the Spanish Cup final. Top of the league, Barcelona looking good for the double against 4th-placed Mallorca. 2 of the top sides in Spain. Get ready for a hot-blooded cracker. Arriba, man. The Spanish Cup final, Wednesday evening at 2100 CET, 8 UK, live on Eurosport.
Welcome back to Nazareth. We've got our first yellow flag of the day, and the competitors have completed 5 laps. It was on the first lap that it went wrong for championship leader Adrian Fernandez. And look at this, Dennis Vitolo has also spun. Now, I don't know quite how that managed to happen, because we didn't see that happening when the first yellow came out. Perhaps something had already gone on, but he's been round since then, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been around a couple of times since then. Actually, I think it was just last time around that he didn't make it. He must have just trying to keep the tyres warm and outdid himself there a little bit. Same place. It's easy to do. 800 horsepower, not a lot of grip. There's no temperature yet in these tyres, and he's already a couple of laps down, and Fernandez hasn't been past at all yet. So his hopes of scoring points in this race are disappearing rapidly.
Yeah, it's a great shame for Dennis Vitolo, but that's the way it goes, and they'll just have to try and get that car back on. There is Adrian Fernandez's car now being towed back towards the pit. It doesn't look as though he's going to get back out again. The positions at the moment, Patrick Carpentier still leading from the pole position that he took in qualifying. And if you're with us here on Eurosport at the moment for our live coverage from Nazareth, thank you for being so patient with us. The rain yesterday putting us out of action, but we've got some great racing in prospect here today. Michael Andretti, he's the main, well, one of the main movers, but also a main mover was Robbie Gordon.
Yeah, a couple of people at the back of the field actually. Robbie Gordon and PJ Jones, they started respectively 24th and 25th. They're already up to 17th and 18th. They made a big jump there at the start. I expected Robbie Gordon to try something like that, and he pulled it off nicely. He was actually pretty conservative, I noticed, through turn 1 here, but he made a lot of ground through turn 2 and made a few more places right before the yellow came out. So good job there. There is Dennis Vitolo's car restarted. He is, however, a couple of laps down.
Yeah, so already a bad day for Dennis Vitolo after a good effort in qualifying, as we said. 22nd position for him.
Yeah, didn't qualify here last year. Missed the last 2 races because of a hand injury that he aggravated in the first race at Homestead. That car is newly updated. It's a 97 chassis updated to 98 aero specs, but it had absolutely no testing. And as I said in the preview, his lap in qualifying would have put him second on the grid last year. It's amazingly close, this whole field. Just over 1 second covers a whole field. In actual fact, all bar 2 of them within 7/10 of a second in lap time. So it's very, very competitive here.
Astonishingly competitive. It really is brilliant to see. And the course of this race now won't come down to lap times as much as position and dealing with traffic. That will be absolutely crucial as we start to get into this race and the distance comes down gradually. Dealing with traffic, finding the track position is what it's all about here. And for those sort of people, you've got to watch out. Michael Andretti, Greg Moore, they're always excellent in race traffic, and they always seem to be able to find the slot they require. Just to remind you that the rookies are running well at the moment. Tony Kanaan and JJ Leto in 13th and 14th. The situation here at Nazareth is that Patrick Carpentier leads, and we're awaiting the green flag once again. Problems for Dennis Vitolo sorted out. He's been back into the pits, refired the engine and has restarted. And there's on board with Michael Andretti. Now he's already moved up. Let's take a look at what happened at the start here. Ahead of him, Patrick Carpentier is in the lead. Greg Moore is in second place, the car right ahead of Michael. He's quick through turn 2, takes quite a wide line through turn 2. Pretty brave on cold tyres this. Got to the outside, and look at that, he was on the outside. Greg was very aware that he was there. Remember, these guys have spotters who can keep an eye on what's going on. Now we've got a chance to hear from Adrian Fernandez, crew chief. Let's hear.
Just a case of tires that were too cold on a cold day, and he was down low, out of the groove a little bit, pinched it, and a little bit too hard on the gas, and it just got away from him.
All right, thank you. We're getting ready to go green again.
So that was Steve Newey, and it was just purely the cold tyre situation. I reckon we're going to see that a few more times here today, because the temperature really is cool. It means that with a high air density, the downforce created by the wings has actually increased, and that's another issue. Now there's somebody else in trouble.
I'm not sure it wasn't Christian Fittipaldi. It's certainly a dark-coloured car.
Here we go.
It might well have been Christian Fittipaldi got himself out of shape. It was indeed, and he's fallen well to the back of the pack.
Look at Michael, he's gone past Patrick straight away. Wow, cold tyres or not, Michael doesn't seem to worry about it. He just blasts past Patrick Carpentier. He makes it look so easy, and yet as you saw Adrian Fernandez spin, it's so easy to lose it. Michael goes into the lead, Patrick second, Greg Moore is in third position, then Gilles de Ferran ahead of Jimmy Vasser. Alex Zanardi's going well in 6th place. You're on board with Jimmy Vasser at the moment. He's in 5th position now. He's chasing after Gilles de Ferran. Right behind him, there is Zanardi, and behind Zanardi is Paul Tracy in the Team Green car. Now watch out for Tracy. We know how fast he could be on this racetrack. He's won here twice before. He should have won more than that in the past. One particular occasion when he was leading most of the race and he overshot his pit. Paul Tracy is unbelievable around this track, and we really have got to keep an eye on his progress. Let me just take you down through the rest of the field. Herta is in 8th place, 9th for Bobby Rahal, Scott Pruitt 10th, Guterman 11th, Tony Kanaan in 12th, then Max Papis 13th ahead of JJ Leto and Richie Hearn, then Robbie Gordon in 16th place and Al Unser Jr. in 17th position. And it means that the other Europeans are quite a long way down. We've got another yellow flag, and it's Dennis. Yeah, there's the damage done to the car. Ripped the front wing nose cone off there, as you can see, damage to the back as well, and Dennis is not having a very good day. It's all over now, the car too badly damaged to continue, and we've got a chance to hear, in fact, as it all goes yellow again, to hear from Adrian Fernandez, who's down in the pit lane, and the championship leader, no doubt, feeling somewhat embarrassed and ashamed of what went on. Let's just see what happened to Dennis Vitolo first. This was coming out of turn 3. Well, just lost it, didn't he? The back end just got away from him into the wall, just like that. I mean, there's just no way a driver, once it's gone like that, can get it back.
No, this sort of speed, even there on the back of the field, running straight out of the pits, he's still doing 150 miles plus. He doesn't really look it, but that's at least the speed he's doing coming off that corner. The good news, of course, no injury there. Dennis Vitolo getting out of the car.
Let's hear from Adrian Fernandez
now. Is this a case of cold tires?
No, the tires were good. It just, for some reason, we had the car too loose, and as soon as I started putting the power, the car went, went loose. I felt it going into one, and I didn't have the time enough to move my bars inside the car, and I started rolling into the throttle very, smoothly, and he just cashed me out and just spun out.
How much does this hurt you as you came in as the season points leader?
Oh, obviously it hurts. We didn't think we were going to be that strong, but we were thinking that, trying to get the best finish we could and try to, be smart on the race. And, we did the best I could. And, unfortunately, this is a race that didn't help us. But, this is a long season, and hopefully we will catch up.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
Disappointment there for Adrian Fernandez, definitely, and a bit of a surprise, really, to see him go out so early on. So, problems for several drivers, particularly for Dennis Vitolo. Michael Andretti is race leader here in the early stages.
The clash of the South American giants is described as a friendly, but that's not a word that springs to mind when Brazil are playing Argentina. It'll be about as friendly as the last time Hector and Achilles met. Eurosport is covering all 64 games in the World Cup, and this one could easily be a rehearsal for the final. Brazil v Argentina, Thursday night at 2100 CET, 8 UK on Eurosport.
With Opel and Gillette.
Who won the last San Marino Grand Prix in Imola? You know the answer. Every week, thanks to Eurosport, you could win a video game station along with a Formula One driving game. And that's not all. You could also win Eurosport t-shirts. To play, call right now. Good luck. The Fiesta's in Spain this Wednesday night because it's the Spanish Cup final. Top of the league, Barcelona looking good for the double against fourth-placed Mallorca. Two of the top sides in Spain. Get ready for a hot-blooded cracker. Arriba, man. The Spanish Cup final, Wednesday evening at 2100 CET, 8 UK, live on Eurosport. Where does Le Mans 24 Hours take place? England, Holland or France? Eurosport and Nissan offer you the chance to win a fantastic Almera GTI. And that's not all. Hundreds of Nissan t-shirts, hats and jackets must also be won. Call now, and good luck from Nissan.
Six laps have been completed here now as Andretti and De Ferran lead them round. Moore and Tracy third and fourth, then Carpentier, Rahal fifth and sixth. Zanardi, Herta, Vassar and Kanaan. The rest of our top 10 at the moment. And the yellow flag waving again after the incident for Dario Franchitti on this occasion. We haven't had a chance to see exactly what happened to Dario as yet. We may still see what happened to him. There's Mark Blundell. He's running down in 17th position at the moment. He's a lap down, though, on race leader.
Took over the position from Dario Franchitti after Franchitti's accident. They've both been lapped before that longish caution, before this last caution, I should say, and he is a lap down. So they were at the back of the field, those guys, dicing for position. Mark actually got past Alonso Jr. at the restart, but a lap down in 17th place, and of course at the tail end of the field here, because of the fact that the guys who are lap down had to make their pit stops after those who are on a lead lap. So tough to make up that lap now for Mark Blundell.
Looking here at Bobby Rahal, he's starting his 250th race here today. It's an amazing statistic. Remember, he's in his last season of competition now. His last win came here. That was in 1992, and it really is an impressive record he has.
Yeah, 86 races ago was his last win, Bobby Rahal, and he's got a good car again this weekend. He's been very competitive the last two races. Absolutely no luck. He was running third in Motegi before he had that wheel bearing problem that put him into the wall. And of course, last week to Long Beach, a couple of weeks ago in Long Beach, he was involved in a melee at the hairpin and lost several laps.
Looking now at Christian Fittipaldi. Now, it started off badly for him here today because of that incident going across the grass, which has lost him so much time, and it's really been very difficult for him to make up much progress, still lying down in 14th position there. Yeah, but the good news is, of course, at least as far as he's concerned, he managed to keep Michael Andretti behind him, so he didn't go a lap down. Now he's in the main train of cars. He doesn't have to worry about Michael for quite a long time. Taking a look now at Jimmy Vassar with our onboard camera. Jimmy lying in 12th place in the championship at the moment. He's had a 7th place and an 8th position in the last two races, 7th in Japan, 8th in Long Beach. Was out of the points in Homestead, although he did manage to finish the race there. But he's never won on the short oval. He's had success on the ovals, but they've always been the big ones. And he'd love to get a victory on a short track. In fact, Chip Ganassi is going to be running a race on a 1 mile oval. He's actually taking over the promotion of a race in Chicago. He's in fact setting up the track and all sorts, and that's going to probably happen next year, in fact. So I think Jimmy Vassar and Alex Zanardi better learn how to go quick around 1 mile ovals. Just looking down there now at Michel Jourdain, our young Mexican racer who's been impressive. This, by the way, is a little look back at what happened to Mark Blundell's fueler. We mentioned that somebody got hurt down there, and what happened was he just slipped and got hit by the wheel. This was the fire of Scott Pruitt that we also showed you them dealing with earlier on. The bodywork actually on fire as he came into the pit lane, which we hadn't realised until that point, because whereas methanol might burn with invisible flame, of course, when it sets fire to the bodywork, it doesn't. Now, let's go down to the pits and hear from Helio Castro-Neves, who crashed out earlier.
First of all, Helio, I understand that you were trying to get your lap back from Michael, and then what happened there?
Yes, my car was doing pretty good. I mean, I just let Michael pass. He was the leader. I mean, no way to block. But my car was starting to improve each lap, and I tried to pass him on the end of the straight. And I mean, race competitive. I mean, I just tried to pass. He blocked a little bit. I understand, I think. And I lost downforce on the brake point, and I spun.
Now, that's the second time you and Michael have got together. You going to go talk with him after?
Well, I think. Well, we better talk, but just race.
All right, well, let's talk to Dario Franchitti, another maybe one of this just racing incidents. You came across here with no rear wing. What happened to you?
Yeah, I got a little bit sideways on the brakes. It was getting kind of crowded on the inside going into turn 3, and I just lost the back a little bit on the brakes. Tried to catch it back. I was hard on the power. The rear wheels were spinning, but just kept backing in towards the wall, and so I hit pretty hard. It was a shame. I mean, we struggled a bit with the car today. We weren't really on the pace at all. We lost the lap very early on. It was going to be a long day out there, but I'd prefer to finish the race to this any day. All right, thanks. Thank you.
So that's sad news from Dario Franchitti as he explained what happened. We're nearly ready for a green flag there. We're about half a lap away. JJ Leto has been into the pits meanwhile.
And Alonso Jr. they're making a stop. It's 91 laps in the books here. They probably needed that stop just to make sure that they can go the distance from here with just one more pit stop. That's why those guys were coming in there. They're all, apart from JJ Leto, they're all a lap down. So good strategy definitely from Leto. Some of these other guys may struggle if it goes green all the way. Here we are, green flag once again. 92 laps in the books.
Right, so Andretti leads away as it goes green. De Ferran in second. Then we've got Greg Moore in third, Paul Tracy in fourth place, and then Patrick Carpentier. 3 Canadians in the top 5 places. That's a pretty good effort, isn't it? And there is Paul Tracy now beginning to have a little bit more of a look at Greg Moore. Meanwhile, Jimmy Vasser still trying to make up ground that he lost on that slow pit stop. Vasser up behind Rahal, and Herta just going past Bobby Rahal there, and that puts him up one more position. So that puts him into 8th position now. And Jimmy Vasser really is going well here today. The car is working brilliantly well, and he seems to flying and just picking them off one by one. Brian Herta is the next one on his list. Brian is currently in 7th position.
Good action there. There is one of the target Chip Ganassi cars. That is Jimmy Vasser flying through turn 1 there. In his sights there is Brian Herta over the crest of the hill there in turn 2. Diving down the back straightaway, the shell car of Brian Herta. There is Jimmy Vasser.
We just heard that JJ Leto picked up a black flag for hitting a crew member, hitting his crew member on the stop that he made, which looked like good strategy, but obviously he made contact with a crew member, and that is one of the penalties you have to pay. You have to go back into the pit lane again, and that's the situation, obviously for safety reasons, and it does make sense, but obviously it was a pure accident that he hit his man. He comes through now. I see JJ going through the pits on a drive-through penalty, and that's going to drop him really out of the running now.
Yeah, he lost a couple of laps now. That's a great shame for JJ Leto. He'd been running well. Interesting idea. Good idea to come in the pit series at the back end of the lead lap in any case, but all that strategy is thrown out the window now, and he's out of contention effectively, at least for a top finish here this afternoon. And now Tony Kanaan in 10th place is the only rookie now left back on the lead lap.
As you can see from those figures as they come across the line in miles per hour, Andretti is fastest. He's still our race leader, and he's pulling away. He's up to 3 seconds ahead of De Ferran already. Greg Moore is chasing hard behind De Ferran, and Paul Tracy is then pretty close behind Greg Moore. Michael, the only man in the 19-second bracket. He's consistently fast here, and this has to bode well for the rest of today. He's been confident all weekend, Jeremy. You were speaking to him on Friday, and he seemed pretty happy.
He certainly was, and yeah, Michael Andretti loves this place. There he is through turn 1 again. That's 99 laps in the books, another 20 flat there in terms of lap time, and he's so consistent every single lap, 99 or 20 flat, and into turn 3 there, the car handling pretty much perfect, absolutely no correction there, just winding up the lock as he comes off that turn there, and turns into turn 3. You can hear it absolutely flat out up the hill into turn 2. Just breathes the throttle slightly, a couple of corrections there, pretty bumpy on that part of the racetrack, and down the back straightaway again.
Yes, the bumps in turn 2 have been an issue for all of the drivers, and trying to get the car to handle over those bumps is pretty hard work. So they really have to think about that and try and get the car handling well, and not being deflected offline too much through what is an incredibly fast corner, as all of them are there. And it was interesting just looking at this racetrack and watching them go around in the practice sessions and thinking that really in European race circuit terms there are very few European tracks that have one fast corner as fast as the ones they have here, and there are 3 distinct very, very fast corners on this racetrack that have to be dealt with one after the other. There's no break between them. It really is an incredible test of concentration, of bravery, of skill, of ability to set the car up, and Michael Andretti is the man who's certainly doing the best at the moment.
Traffic now ahead of Michael Andretti. These are the cars that are actually already a lap down. It's Alonso Jr. who's about to put a lap on again. Alonso Jr. seems to be struggling on this set of tyres for some reason. And there's a bit looking back a little bit farther back. That's the battle for 7th place once again between Herta and Vasser. Vasser lost a little ground coming off that turn again. He gets up close behind Herta, loses a bit of downforce on the front wings, and isn't able to get close enough to make a pass into turn 3.
Now, Brian Herta, remember, had a great run in the last race at Long Beach. That was when he was beaten just at the last stages by Alex Zanardi, and of course Brian ended up finishing in 3rd position. He had a non-finish in Japan. They had a clutch problem there, but he did finish in 8th place at Homestead. He's generally been on the pace this year. Remember, Team Ray Hall have switched tyre companies for this season. They've gone from Goodyear to Firestone. Very happy about the change that they've made, and Herta has been consistently up there, lying in 7th place in the championship on 20 points at the moment. And don't forget that Brian Herta's real forte are the road courses. Once we get into those later in the season, mainly in the latter third of the championship, we can expect to see Herta right up there once again. Still perhaps a question mark over whether he's got it, what it takes to mix it with the real hard charging racers. I'm sure he can prove that to us later in the year perhaps. He's going to have the opportunity, I reckon. They've got a competitive car, but he's got to prove that he can really race with the best of them. I suppose the hard charging racers we have to consider in this championship are Michael Andretti and Greg Moore, particularly those two very hard charging racers, and of course Alex Zanardi. Just had a bit of news there that PJ Jones is slowing down a bit. By the way, you're watching from Gilles de Ferrans from wing at the moment.
It could have been PJ as he was being lapped. He was actually making room for Michael Andretti, so he was slow through turn 1. He could have a problem, we're not quite sure, but certainly he was letting Michael Andretti, the race leader, past him.
Look at this great picture. We're right up under the wing of Alonso Jr.'s Penske through turn 3, now coming past the grandstands, out to the wall and flat out through turn 1. And then down the hill slightly, down into turn 2. We've got a yellow flag. The yellows are out. Blundell it is, Mark Blundell, and he's hit the wall pretty hard with both front and back by the looks of things. The back end of the gearbox is really ripped to shreds, and Mark is in the wall, and that's bad news to see. He's been running a bit uncompetitively here today. The car obviously not working well, a little bit like Dario's situation, I should imagine. But look at that, the right rear completely wrecked. Remember, this is his first time out in terms of racing in the 1998 Reynard.
Yeah, he'd been running in a group there at right behind Christian Fittipaldi, who was behind Richie Hearn, who was behind 17, which is Mauricio Gugelmin, Robbie Gordon and Terry Canaan, all in a train there. Mark Blundell was a lap down, but he was dicing with that lots of midfield group, running pretty competitive lap times, and a heavy impact there for the British driver.
Let's hope he's okay. Obviously still in the car at the moment and waiting for the safety crews to arrive. Pit lane closed at the moment, that's what the P means, so nobody's allowed in. We're on lap number 110.
I think probably have to let it go.
Well, that's interesting. Michael's saying probably have to let it go, which presumably means choose not to stop.
Or what? It's still closed. Everything's still closed. When they open, we will pit, okay? Yeah, I guess. We're going to be in trouble now.
We're going to be in trouble now, says Michael Andretti.
Interesting. And then obviously he's not at all sure that it's the right decision to take, but the team obviously feeling that it is the right time. Tricky time to stop because it means they are going to have to do one more stop.
Absolutely, but Ed Nathman there, who is his team manager, the guy in charge of the strategy for Michael Andretti's car number 6, he feels that it's the time to pit, and he makes that call to Michael Andretti. Michael doesn't really have any option but to follow what Ed Nathman says, and it will be a pit stop, it seems, this time around for Michael Andretti. And the interesting thing, of course, who else will pit as well? And as we're looking down pit lane, we can see just about all the other crews are getting ready to make pit stops as well, and here they come all into the pits one after the other. So I think they're clearly the right move, and JJ's strategy coming in that previous stop was right, and it backfired for him.
If you leave the pit, there'll be water in front of you.
There's Ed Nathman warning Michael Andretti of the water in the pit lane. There's a little bit left over from Pruitt's incident a little earlier on, and actually it's just one pit slot in front of where Michael Andretti will be making this pit stop right now here.
So there we go, on to the new set of tyres. Reset the fuel.
Tyres are done.
Ready to go, and off he goes. Another great stop from the Newman Haas crew, and I think that's got Michael out in front once again. Yes, it has, and the battle in the pit lane progresses. Good stop from Michael Andretti, but we've just heard that Alex Zanardi beat out Greg Moore. Now that's a great stop from Zanardi because it was quite a long way down the order, so that's pretty impressive. Oh no, there's problems for Carpentier. Patrick Carpentier, the pole sitter, and the man who's been running up there top 3, top 4 places for much of the morning so far, and he's obviously stalled it coming out. Oh, what a shame, because this has been his most competitive showing at least of this year, and he's needed one. He's had a very, very disappointing season so far. He suffered various electronic engine maladies throughout the season and really way that Greg Moore has. This a real confidence boost this weekend, but obviously they're the mistake perhaps
get it back.
causing problems. Now just hearing from Bobby Rahall's radio there, and still the clear-up operation going on with Mark Blundell. And as soon as we get some news on him, we'll let you know, of course.
3 cars did not make a pit stop. Brian Herter, car number 8, now leads the race, therefore ahead of Jimmy Vasser and Robbie Gordon, and then Michael Andretti, the first of those to make a pit stop.
So it's all changed around a little bit. Brian Herter deciding to stay out there, and this is going to make the next part of the race very interesting indeed.
Racing cars, sports cars, rally cars, plus the best of bikes and trucks. If it's got wheels and an engine, there's only one way to keep up with Eurosport. Motors, Thursday at 12:45 CET, 11:45 UK on Eurosport. With Hasseröder Premium Pills. Paris Saint-Germain have already won the French League Cup. This Saturday they could take the French Cup as well. But top of the table Lens stand in their way. They too are chasing a double, that of the French League and Cup. Not bad for a team who've never before won a major trophy. The French Cup final, Saturday night at 20:30 CET, 7:30 UK, live on Eurosport.
Back at Nazareth, and Michael Andretti is finding himself down in 6th position now, or rather 4th position, sorry, not 6th position, 4th place, and Gilles de Ferran in 5th, Alex Zanardi in 6th. Brian Herter is the race leader at the moment because he didn't come in on that last round of pit stops. Jimmy Vasser 2nd, he also stayed out there, and so did Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon making his return, remember, this weekend, and taking over from Hiro Matsushita. There is Mark Blundell's car being towed back towards the pit lane, and obviously that was a fairly hefty impact against the wall. We're still waiting to hear just how Mark is, but we think he's basically okay. We're just waiting to hear any particular news from down in the pit lane, and obviously that car very, very badly damaged indeed. The end of his afternoon's running. He's just got to look forward to the next race, which will take place in Rio in Brazil in a couple of weeks' time. Back to the action that is continuing though, and we've completed some 117 laps out of the 225, so we're over the halfway distance, and Michael Andretti seems to be the man to beat at the moment. Having made that stop, he's got a few cars ahead of him. We'll just take a look here at who did well and who didn't on that last round of pit stops. Michael out in 1st, but out 4th, but that was because some guys didn't stop, remember. So 3 guys didn't stop, so he actually came out effectively as 1st of the stoppers. De Ferran in 2nd, out 5th, and Moore, he lost out a little bit there.
Yeah, just 1 position to Alex Zanardi. Once again, Rob Hill's crew there, Target 2, Ganassi crew, excellent stop. You can always count on it from those guys. Moore's crew similarly good, but Chris Schofield's guys not quite able to get Greg back into the race ahead of Alex Zanardi. So 1 position again for Alex Zanardi, and Greg Moore will be 6th for the restart.
I'll tell you what, it also seems as though Tracy lost out a bit there, didn't he? Because he's down to 8th position.
Yeah, you're right. He fell behind both. Well, he moved up ahead of Greg. He's behind Moore. No, he's behind Moore still. He lost out 1 position during the stops. In overall terms.
Zanardi again, really, wasn't it? It was great. The great stop from the Ganassi crew, and I wonder if they put as much fuel in. I suppose that may have been a slight difference. We are going to see now whether they are going to have to make 1 more stop. All these guys who have stopped just then are going to have to make another stop. There is the man who's moved up to 3rd place now, Robbie Gordon, and Robbie, of course, making his full-time return, although he won't be doing the next race in Rio. That will in fact be the last race for Hiro Matsushita in that car, but from then on Robbie will be in the car throughout the rest of the season. Been good to see him in the car this weekend. He and Max Papis have actually been going extremely well this weekend. The car still powered by a Toyota engine that is no doubt down on power to the other manufacturers, but the reliability of the Toyota has been much improved this year, Jeremy, hasn't it?
Markedly so. No failures yet this year. There is the fuel windows for the top 3 compared to the other 2, Andretti and de Ferran, best of the rest, so to speak, who have yet to make their Well, they've already made a second stop, and Herta, Vassar and Gordon just the one pit stop so far. Just a quick note on Patrick Carponche, we saw had that problem in the pits. He's a lap down. That's how quickly you can lose a lap at this place. 17th place for Patrick Carponche with 120 laps in the books.
That's a shame, isn't it? Because Patrick's been having such a good weekend up until now, and just that silly little problem in the pit lane, and suddenly it's all wiped out and you've got to start all over again. Still, the car seems to have been working well. He may have a chance to overtake. Not going to be easy. Let me tell you that Alonso Jr. in the 1997 Penske, as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, he lies in 16th position, so he is a lap down, I'm afraid, on the race leaders, and that's going to be tough for him to make up that lap. I mean, we now in the past work his way up gradually from lowly grid positions, but
it's not going to happen this weekend, Ben. He's been struggling from the start of the race. Very curious decision, I think, to run the older car. They hadn't got much time on the new car here, and both drivers on Friday morning were a little bit spooked by the bumps in turn 2. Most of the rest of the field were as well. The rest of them managed to work around it, get their cars to work. I think a bit of a panic there by the Penske team, which is most uncharacteristic, and they elected to bring out one of the 97 cars, which actually they'd taken to Motegi as a backup car for the team in case they needed it. But it wasn't needed then, it was needed this weekend.
He's looking at Tony Kanaan, lying in 18th place at the moment in the championship, but leading the rookie standings, which is a very impressive performance from Tony Kanaan, and coming into the series as the reigning Indy Lights champion, staying with the same team, Tasman Motorsport, that took him to the Indy Lights series win last year, and he's had a pretty impressive start to the season. Just looking back over the race so far, our leader at the moment, Brian Herta, the average speed 163.5 miles per hour. We've had 3 different leaders, 2 changes for the lead, but we have had 5 cautions already over 54 laps. 8 cars already out. Let's look at the list. PJ Jones, Mark Blundell, Dario Franchitti, Scott Pruitt, Helio Castroneves, Arndt Meyer, Dennis Vitolo, and the championship leader right at the start of the race, Adrian Fernandez, went out. If you didn't catch that, well, basically he just lost it on the opening lap. He put it down to the car handling, not as it should do. It may have been a combination of that and the fact that the cold temperatures here really hadn't allowed the drivers to build up much heat into the tyres. The end result was that Adrian Fernandez spun out any chance of scoring more points. So Jimmy Vasser lies up there in 2nd place, and Zanardi on a different strategy. So Ganassi have got a hedged bet going on here, because they've got one car, Jimmy Vasser in 2nd place.
Oh, Michael Andretti loses it!
Oh, would you believe it? Michael Andretti, a basic error, and just look at that car. Look what he's done to it on a cold track, cold tyres. They were just coming around. He put on the power, and would you believe it, Michael has thrown it away.
He's about the last guy one would have expected to do that. Look how disgusted he is with himself. He's gone to the far at the back of the car as if the safety crew quickly on the scene, and oh boy, what disappointment for Michael Andretti. He knew he had a great opportunity to win this race, and it's all been thrown away. That's 2 mistakes by the crew and 1 by Michael Andretti, and he'll be ushered into the safety vehicle and brought back to have a look over the infield medical centre. But clearly Michael Andretti is okay physically. Mentally he's absolutely distraught.
Yeah, that is just unbelievable, isn't it? Here he is in his hometown of Nazareth. He's won this race twice before. Look at it in turn number 3, puts on a bit of power, and the back end just steps out. Unbelievable. It just shows you just how easy it is to get it wrong when even the top guys do that. Just getting the power on too quickly, and well, these guys are brave.
I stood on and lit him up. I guess it was just the cold tires, so caught me.
Was the car slippery before with these temperatures, or is this kind of really caught you by surprise?
Caught me by surprise, really, because the car was excellent before that.
Everything going well. Track conditions other than that?
Perfect.
Sorry, Michael, I know it's tough. What can you do? I mean, were you weaving back and forth everything you normally would do to warm the tires?
Yeah, but that doesn't really do anything, you know, and I guess I just stood on it a little too hard.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, that's the way it goes. Don't forget, these are turbocharged engines, and there is that little bit of delay. Even though the turbocharging is not that intense on these machines, there's that little bit of delay as the driver gets on the power. That was the view, as you can see, as we hit the wall. He just got on the power as they came to take the green flag, and perhaps that little delay catching him out, but you wouldn't expect it, would you? Here's the onboard. Let's see again. Oh, dear, oh dear.
It's gone before you know it. It'd be no time even to correct it all. That's a very, very heavy impact there, even coming up to the green. And what a shame for Michael Andretti. You know, class act. I mean, how many people would have just walked away in that sort of instance and not wanted to, clearly didn't want to talk about it, but at least he has the gall to stand up and say, look, I made a mistake here.
Pretty well as he missed it, or everybody else managed to miss him. There were quite a few cars down on that inside that saw a car heading towards them pretty quickly. Paul Tracy took to the grass to make sure that he got out of the way, and there were quite a few cars there that managed to stay out of his way. It could have been, of course, a lot worse if they'd collected him. They were getting on the power, and that was the last thing they wanted to see, was a car heading back down from the wall down towards the infield. You can see Gilles de Ferran going past there on the right. You can see there Greg Moore. Paul Tracy, as you can see, was just heading onto the grass to avoid Michael, and thankfully everybody did manage to avoid him. So Brian Herter, race leader from Jimmy Vasser and Robbie Gordon so far.
Reggiani Lighting. Origine di luce.
Who won the last San Marino Grand Prix in Imola? You know the answer. Every week, thanks to Eurosport, you could win a video game station along with a Formula One driving game. And that's not all. You could also win Eurosport t-shirts. To play, call right now. Good luck. A fusion of natural forces, human skills and advanced aerodynamic equipment. High-octane, environmentally friendly action with attitude. The Windsurf Ataturk World Cup from Istanbul in Eurosport class. Thursday afternoon at 1700 CET for UK on Eurosport. Eurosport class with the presenting sponsor.
Big Star, the legendary blue jeans.
The action continues under yellow flags, and it's still Brian Herter who leads them round, who didn't stop on that last set. Jimmy Vasser second, Robbie Gordon third. Michael Andretti out of this race in such dramatic fashion, trying to get the power down on the last restart.
There is Andretti's car, some ignominious entry into the pit lane. That's not the way he wanted to bring that car back. Good news, of course, however, for the three who didn't make a pit stop. Brian Herter, Jimmy Vasser, Robbie Gordon. The yellow flag means that they can stretch their fuel load a good bit longer than they would otherwise have been able to do so. So they're certainly happy to see this caution. The longer it goes on for them, the happier they will be.
Yes, they're going to have to make one more stop at some point, but well, we're just going to have to see, aren't we, exactly what's going to happen.
Well, I think pretty much everybody's going to have to make one more stop. It's just a question of whether they can stretch this fuel load long enough to be able to make their last stop along with everybody else and still keep on effectively the same schedule, at least from now on in.
Make up some time. There is our leader then, Brian Herter. We reckon that he can go another 30 laps before he has to come into the pit, so he's got a good chance to run up competitively up front and maintain that sort of pace. Alex Zanardi now is the leader of the guys who have been into the pits, because he's running in fourth position overall behind Herter, Vasser and Gordon. This is a good run from Zanardi. Had a tough time here last year. Still, last year didn't really feel that happy about 1 mile ovals. Let's just run down through the top order. There is Herter then, Jimmy Vasser in the target car in second position. He's been running strongly all day, and he lost out time in the pit lane earlier on, but watch out for him. Very, very fast today so far. Third place then is Robbie Gordon.
It's actually the lap car there of JJ Leto. He's a couple of laps down after that incident earlier on. Then Robbie Gordon, the Panasonic Duskin car in third place. Toyota engine car is the highest a Toyota engine car has ever been in this series. Slightly false perhaps with the pit stop situation, but you know, two front runners ahead of him doing the same strategy, so pretty interesting.
Fourth place for the reigning champion Alex Zanardi, the winner from Long Beach, and moved himself up into the championship nicely, and he's putting in a good run here so far, biding his time, which is what racing on a 1 mile oval is all about. Gilles de Ferran then runs in fifth position, and sixth place for Greg Moore. Then it's Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan in eighth, Maurizio Gugelmin in ninth, and Bobby Rahal in 10th place. There is a quick view of Gilles de Ferran in 5th place. Finished 4th here last year. I think last year he finally felt that he'd begun to get to this place. So he found it a bit of a shock to the system when he first came here.
Yeah, very much so. He was really pleased with his performance here last year. his season had got off to a pretty bumpy start with accidents at each of the first races, either during the race or during qualifying, or even both, as it was the case in Homestead. And here was the place that got it. This was the race that got his championship challenge back on track. A very good run, and to fourth place it was, I think, last year, and running strongly again this weekend. He wants the points. He knows he can do it, and the win is not far away either.
Here we go then, green flag. Watch out for anybody losing it under cold tyres or on cold tyres out of turn 3. There's a bit of dust up there, but I think everyone's managed to get through safely. Restart, lap number 134. Brian Herter's under immediate pressure from Jimmy Vasser for the race lead. Robbie Gordon dropping away a little bit in third position. And are we going to see Alex Zanardi beginning to challenge the Toyota-powered car that is holding on to third at this point? Hiro Matsushita, the man who's been in that car, has been here this weekend, watching closely. Mauricio Gugelmin, I just watching there, going past Tony Kanaan. So Gugelmin's gone up into 8th position as he went through turn number 1. This is a gradual climb up for Mauricio Gugelmin. Qualified a long way down the order, not that far down, but not as far up as he would have liked. But he's now up into the top 10, running that 1998 car for the first time, and he'll be reasonably happy with the progress that he's making. Kanaan then has Bobby Rahal chasing him, but at the moment we're concentrating further up the order. De Ferran there in front of you with Paul Tracy still featuring on the lead lap, still playing a major part in this.
Yeah, in actual fact, he got past Greg Moore at that restart, so Tracy up into 6th position now. The Reynard Honda, the green and white colours there, team called green. There is Paul Tracy. Ahead of him is Gilles De Ferran in 5th place.
So this is going to be an interesting battle between the two of them. Ahead of them, of course, is Alex Zanardi. Zanardi still behind Robbie Gordon. It just shows you how well that Toyota-powered car of Gordon is going here, as we just saw Patrick Carpentier come into the pit lane there again, so he's losing more time.
Pit speed violation. He came in and made a pit stop to that last yellow right at the end of it, and he came too fast down the pit lane. Silly move by the French-Canadian, another one really, and it loses another lap there. So 2 laps down now, Patrick Carpentier.
Yep, so it's all over for him for today. He rejoined just behind his teammate there, Greg Moore, once more. And there we just see them going through turn 1 into turn 2. De Ferran still being chased by Paul Tracy. Paul Tracy, twice winner at this track, as we mentioned earlier on, and just seems to be biding his time at this stage, and that's a very sensible strategy. Whether he's got a car that's going to be fast enough in the closing stages, well, we're just going to wait and see. He will be working on that with the team. They'll be playing with the roll bar settings in the cockpit. They'll be telling the team how the car's handling. They may change a wing set, or indeed use to a different set of tyres when he next comes into the pits, just to try and change the handling characteristics and make it as good as possible for the closing stages. But he's got to watch out, because behind him there is Greg Moore, and Moore, although he might have got past on that restart, doesn't seem to be that much slower than Tracy. If anything, he seems to be closing up again to his fellow Canadian. Great battle in prospect between these two. Across the lines, you can see that Jimmy Vasser was fastest across the line, but Jeremy doesn't really seem to be closing up anymore on Herter.
No, those two pretty much running the same lap times. The 19.8 for Brian Herter last time around. They're running the same pace. That is the leading pace. That's what you can run when you're at the head of the field. Herter can do it now. Vasser can do it. Michael Andretti was doing it earlier on, and that is the pace that you can run in clear traffic. Of course, when you get in clear road, I should say, when you get into traffic, it's a different story altogether. And it's not so much that the other cars are going much slower, it's just that you're held up.
Greg Moore definitely getting closer to Paul Tracy as they went through turn 2. There's a look at Robbie Gordon. He reckons he can do another 20 laps, apparently, according to the radio communication between himself and the team. The 29-year-old from Orange, California, back out in a champ car. Of course, he did race in the last event last year. He raced for Hogan Racing, replacing Dario Franchitti for the race in Fontana. But this is his new berth now with the Argiro Wells team, and it's a very important berth, really a last chance perhaps for Robbie Gordon to really establish himself as a possible champion in this form of racing in the future. So it's a chance he's got to take with both hands. On board now with a younger American, also looking to try and establish himself. Richie Hearn, this is, with a Swift chassis this year. Remember, Richie struggled manfully with a Lola car last year, and it really didn't work for him at all. And now he's got the only customer Swift chassis in the field. He's running it on the Firestone tyre, unlike Works team, if you like, of Newman Haas. So they're having to learn and develop as they go a little bit. Still, Richie's doing a good job here. He's running in 12th place. It's the final points scoring position. If he stays around that point, doesn't make any mistakes, and he's on for a good sack full of points at the end of the day. Still looking now at the two leaders of this race, Brian Herter and Jimmy Vasser. Again, 2 American races. It's good to see the Americans up there this time instead of, we've seen the Europeans, we've seen the Brazilians, but it's 2 top American drivers up front at the moment.
I have to say, they're both winners of the Valvoline Team USA scholarship. They both went over and raced at the British Formula Ford Festival. Vasser in 1990 and Herta in 1991. They both created a very good impression, and they're now 2 at the forefront of the young American drivers in this FedEx Championship Series. Incredibly consistent they're going. The last 9 laps in a row at 19.8. Oh, I lied, that was a 19.9. But Brian Herta and Jimmy Vasser running exactly the same lap times and pulling away a little bit now from Robbie Gordon in 3rd place.
1996 champion Jimmy Vasser. Brian Herta yet to win a race, let alone the championship, but surely a future champion if he can just string a series of good results together. He's very smooth, very consistent. Brian Herta, great part of Team Rahal, and of course next year likely will be the team leader unless something goes wrong of Team Rahal. Bobby will stand down, bring somebody else into the team. It'll probably be a younger driver that they can help develop and progress. We'll have to wait and see how Bobby decides to play that. But Brian Herta obviously will be in great shape as team leader.
Yeah, Mike Morkowski, of course, driving an Indy Lights car for Bobby Rahal, but he's certainly been struggling this weekend in the Indy Lights field. He crashed earlier on in testing, and yet to be seen whether Morkowski will make their step up into Team Rahal's Champ Car team. But still 20.0 there last time round for Jimmy Vasser. Of course, pit stops looming though for these first 3 cars, with Robbie Gordon 4 seconds back in 3rd position.
Now then, Brian Herta going past Alonso Jr., putting him another lap down, and you can see for yourselves that Alonso Jr. sadly is still struggling with the handling of this 1997 Penske, the champion of 1990 and of 1994. Remember that 1994 season, the Dream Team season, when Penske's just won virtually every race, not quite, but they had 1, 2, 3. They had 3 drivers for them that year. Emerson Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy. They were dominant. Just looking at the pit window there, you can see there's still a bit of time before Zanardi and that lot come in, but the other guys, Herta, Vasser and Gordon, are very much into their pit window. They are going to have to come in. It looks as though they may have to come in under green race conditions, and that's not going to do their cause much good at all. They're up behind Max Papis at the moment, and Max in the other of the Toyota-powered Arturo Wells cars. Max has been running well, but remember, he got a penalty earlier on in this race, and that really dropped him out of any serious front-running position.
And really holding them up here quite a bit. 21
Look, Vasser's got a chance to get past Herta, and he's done it, and that's partly because they were being held up by Max Papis, and Jimmy Vasser's just snatched the lead from Brian Herta. Vasser's been looking so good all day, but he's desperate for a yellow flag right now. He would love the yellows to come out because he's got to come into the pits very soon.
Either that or it stays green the whole way, because everybody's got to make one more stop in any case. They are going to lose. There's Robbie Gordon trying to make a move on the laps car, 2 laps down actually, of Alonso Jr. Everybody's going to have to make one more stop in any case, so as long as they can keep that sequence, they'll be okay. They will lose a lap when they come in to make the pit stop, both Vasser and Herta, but effectively so will everybody else, so they'll be back on the same strategy as long as it stays green.
Yeah, so this could be pretty important for Vasser. He's got the lead now from Brian Herta, and chasing away, again doing some pretty rapid times, although they're mixed up in a lot of traffic at the moment. There's the Team Rahal pit, and it's going to be another battle, is it, between Team Rahal and the Ganassi team, except it's not Zanardi at this point. Well, Zanardi's still running in 4th position, remember, as Robbie Gordon has got to the edge of his fuel window, and he has to bring the machine in now and go for refueling. Still running very competitively, and Gordon should be in good shape once everybody else makes their stops as well. In he comes, and just showing that that car, they've got a good chassis set up on it. Engine power as such is not so critical at this track, so although they're down on brake horsepower, the fact that they've got the chassis handling well is really what has meant Robbie Gordon able to run up the front. He's had some good results here in the past. Good stop there, 13.3 seconds. Took the pole here when he was driving for Walker Racing back in 1995. And he finished 4th here when he was driving for AJ Foyt back in 1993. So he does seem to like this track, and Gordon is an acknowledged oval racer. Last year he was competing in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and this year he's back in Champ Cars. So good effort from Robbie Gordon so far. Arturo Wells must be delighted to see their car so well up, and we're now waiting to see the next 2 come in. Brian Herta and Jimmy Vasser due in any time now. They're going to have to stop soon. Otherwise, they're going to get into the same situation that Michael Michael Andretti had in Japan. There is Brian Herta. So Herta's in for second position. And of course, he will drop quite a long way down the order, but everyone else ahead of him will have to stop in this race. So everything could change later on. Grabs a drink bottle from the stick. The tyres come off. The worn Firestones come off. The new Firestones, just lightly scrubbed in the morning warm-up, go on. Takes a while to put enough fuel on board. Away he goes again. Lights up the rear tyres. No stalling of the engine. They're right down at this end of the pit lane, almost right in front of our commentary position here. And a good stop from Team Rahal. The boys have done well there. And now we just wait for Jimmy Vasser. I wonder when he's going to bring that car into the pits. Can't be long now. He now has a 2.2-second lead over teammate Alex Zanardi. Now is Jimmy coming in this time? No, he stays out there for another lap.
And finally gets a move past Max Papuset. It's taken him an awful long time to get past. 12, 13 laps. Either he or Brian Herta has been right behind Max Papuset, but finally makes that pass.
So a good chance for Jimmy Vasser to open up a bit more of an advantage over the likes of Zanardi in second, de Ferran in third, and here comes Jimmy. He's heading into the pit lane. Very bumpy, this road, as they come into the pits. He's got to be careful through there, and then onto the speed limit at the first pit. So he's up to here now. He has to slow down to 60 miles an hour, comes down to the pit bay, and the team goes to work. And it's pretty frantic stuff down there as they get everything changed. Only 6 men allowed over the wall in Champ Car racing, remember. Very different situation to Formula 1, where you see a team of 18 people refueling and tyres, and they're talking to him on the radio to keep the engine going. Remember, he stalled it last time in the pits. No mistake this time from Jimmy Vasser, and almost an identical pit stop time there to Brian Herta. So he rejoined. It'll be interesting to see who's ahead out of him and Herta once he's up to speed. I can see Herta just going down in towards turn 2. That's where Jimmy's coming out of. And so Brian is behind Jimmy Vasser at the moment, but will he still be behind him at the end of this lap? Because of course Brian Herta's fully up to speed, and this place is a bit like whirling a conker round on the end of a string. It takes a couple of whirls before you get it fully up to speed. And Vasser's going to have to watch out, but I think he's got enough of an advantage over Brian Herta to be able to stay in front of him and maintain that edge that he had before he came into the pits. So that's a little bit of excitement over, because those 3 guys have all had successful pit stops, and now they've just got to be patient and wait, because everybody else in front of them will have to make a pit stop at some point. The critical thing is what's going to be going on when they are making that pit stop, and that's going to be very interesting indeed. Gilles de Ferran there you're watching at the moment. He's in second position, but he's coming under great pressure now from Greg Moore. Moore is looking good here again. I have to say that he's been looking confident all weekend. Didn't have much fun here last year. In fact, went out pretty early on. But he finished second at this racetrack in 1996. He passed the likes of Emerson Fittipaldi and Alonso Jr. in the final laps in a charging drive. And he also is a twice winner of the Indy Lights race at this track. So Greg Moore really is strong on the Nazareth Speedway. And he's just sitting there behind de Ferran at the moment and looking pretty threatening, I have to say. De Ferran holding on nicely at the moment to second place. Remember, our race leader is the reigning champion, Alex Zanardi. Got a lead of just 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, he's brought his pace down now, 20.0. That's about the fastest lap, I think, for Alex Zanardi. The gap had been dwindling back to second and third of de Ferran and Greg Moore. 1.8 seconds behind there is Mauricio Gugelmin, who is moved up nicely into 5th place now, ahead of, quite a long way ahead of Tony Kanaan, Bobby Rahal, Fittipaldi and Richie Hearn, who are having a fabulous battle for 6th place.
Mauricio Gugelmin now starting his 73rd kart race, ex-Formula 1 driver of course, but has been very much a part of the American scene for several seasons. The one race victory which came last year, that was in Vancouver. Remember, he's had some 3 pole positions, including the fastest ever pole that was set at Fontana last year. Been struggling in the early part of the year with the 1997 Reynard Mercedes-Benz package that Pat West decided to stick with. I had to say during the winter that Maurizio was one of the major favourites for the title, but perhaps that decision of Pat West not really paying off. He lost a possible chance of scoring some pretty good points in the first 3 races, and Maurizio's now really having to catch up from behind and hope that as we go into the second part of the season. Still early on at the moment, but he's going to be able to regather some of that ground. Of course, next race will be in Brazil, and for Mauricio Guterman last year, Brazil was pretty good. He was on pole position there. Unfortunately, went out with an accident in the end, but I would imagine that he'll be in good shape for the race in his home country. Still plenty of action out there. It's just amazing. Oh, JJ Leto's in trouble in the pit lane, by the looks of things. Entrance to the pits. Oh, I see. It's right at the top end of the pits there.
Yeah, so it's well off the racetrack there, so no problem for the rest of the teams here. But he's out of the way and just lost it, obviously, coming into the pit lane. Somewhat curious thing to do there. There is a bit of a curve coming into the pit lane, certainly. But
let's see if we can find out what happened here. Coming around there he is. Yes, just coming around. Oh, the back end just broke away. That's very strange. I wonder if he had already felt. Actually, it looks as though. No, can't see anything strange. I wonder if he'd already felt something was amiss and perhaps something just caught him out as he came into the pits. Tricky situation for Leto.
Reggiani Lighting. Origine di luce.
The Fiesta's in Spain this Wednesday night because it's the Spanish Cup final. Top of the league, Barcelona looking good for the double against fourth-placed Mallorca. Two of the top sides in Spain. Get ready for a hot-blooded cracker. Arriba, man. The Spanish Cup final, Wednesday evening at 2100 CET, 8 UK, live on Eurosport.
How many different classes are there in the Motocross World Championship? 1, 4 or 7? Eurosport gives you the chance to win an MXR M250 or a Street Magic. You can also win the riding apparel of Marnik Berwoods, rider of the official Team Suzuki, some helmets and many t-shirts. Call now. And good luck.
The FIM World Motorcycling Championship is moving into Europe. The third Grand Prix of the season from Jerez in Spain. Set amongst the hills in a natural amphitheatre, the circuit holds almost 250,000 spectators, and you can be part of it all weekend. The Spanish Grand Prix from Friday at 1300 CET, noon UK, live on Eurosport.
Battle for second continues. Gilles de Ferran still lying in second place with Greg Moore in third position. And then Paul Tracy in fourth place. Mauricio Guterman in fifth now. Tony Kanaan in sixth. Bobby Rahal in seventh. Christian Fittipaldi in eighth, ahead of Richie Hearn. And look at this, Greg Moore now with a great chance to get past de Ferran. I don't think it's quite going to come off, though. That was about as close as he's come to getting past the Brazilian. Paul Tracy is ready and waiting. If these two hold each other up much, particularly if they get side by side, I can just imagine Paul Tracy picking up a double draft and saying, thank you very much, boys, and going straight past the two of them. Out of turn 3, down the start-finish straight, into turn 1, which is a flat-out kink, but I say kink, it looks more like a real corner when you go and stand down on the track. Through turn 2, and up the short back stretch, back straight. Not much chance for the drivers to get a breather as they're straight on the brakes and into turn 3, and that was de Ferran getting held up a little bit by JJ by the things, and that allowed Greg Moore to close up again. Not quite enough, unless he can get a really, really good run out of turn number 2.
And 3 seconds ahead down up the road now is the race leader, Alex Zanardi, but he's up to that train of the back end of the cars on the lead lap. There's Tony Kanaan along with Bobby Rahal, Christian Fittipaldi and Richie Hearn, and they're running very tightly together, and Alex Zanardi's behind them and unable to make a move at this stage anyhow.
JJ Leonard's having a bad day. He's just being caught for a pit speed limit violation. In fact, we already heard that he's got a problem with his limiter on the car anyway, and that's obviously still causing trouble. So he's not slowing down properly to 60 miles an hour because the button's not working, the button that makes it hiccup and cough as they come down the pit lane, obviously not working at the correct speed, and so he's being caught a couple of times for that now. Alonso Jr. has been into the pits, and apparently the Forsyth Racing crew have heard that Greg Moore's oil light is coming on his dashboard there. There he is, running competitively right behind Gilles de Ferran, and yet apparently the oil light's flashing on. They say, don't worry. Now, remember, they do get telemetry signals sent from the electronics on the car back to the pit lane as it goes past the pits, and that information will be relaying things like oil pressure, so it may well be that it's just a dodgy oil pressure light rather than being any actual major engine problem. They'll be able to keep an eye on the engine's characteristics and what's going on there from the pit lane. If they're not worried, they can just tell Greg to ignore it. Look at this, he's got a chance, he's got alongside. You saw him get sideways coming out of turn 2, but it still doesn't work. There are cars ahead of them, but it still didn't quite pay off.
Short moment there, and there is Paul Tracy right behind those two. They're trying to get past Michel Jourdain Jr., who's been doing a pretty good job. He's been running the same pace as Ray Hall and Christian Fittipaldi and Richie Hearn. He's a lap behind them. He's actually back in 13th position, but he has been running well. There comes Tracy into the pits. He didn't want to lose any more time, and de Ferran suddenly slows, and there goes Greg Moore. We've just had a couple of people made a pit stop. Tony Kanaan came in a couple of laps ago, and what happened there with Gilles de Ferran? We'll have to wait and see when he comes into the pits this time around.
Yeah, Greg Moore has gone up into that second position. Alex Zanardi still race leader, but de Ferran suddenly down to third. Whether he got caught out by one of the other cars ahead of him, it seemed to be far enough ahead, but de Ferran is going to have to stop in a moment anyway. Paul Tracy's had a problem in the pits. Oh no, that slowed him down. Tracy's lost time in the pit lane. We're just seeing him come out now, but they couldn't get the full hose out of the filler. Here comes de Ferran then. Gilles de Ferran choosing this moment to come into the pits, and of course we're under green flag conditions. This is really helping.
You leave it as is or take it out?
Just asking about front wing changes.
Okay.
We heard Derek Walker.
There we go.
Derek Walker just asking whether he wanted any wing changes. Sounds as though he's pretty happy, and in they come just for tyres.
Switch off.
And fuel top up.
That's right, yes, fuel as well, of course, to get through to the end. But no change of setup. He's happy with the way the car's handling, and it's a good quick stop once again for de Ferran. They've made a quick stop earlier on, which gained him some time. That's another good one for the Walker Racing crew. So he's all set now to make it to the end of the race, and we have some 34 laps still to go. We're into the closing stages. This is where it really starts to become exciting, as they all head towards the checkered flag, and it's certainly going to suit the likes of Jimmy Vasser, all this that's going on, because these guys all having to stop under green flag, and that helps the three that stopped a little earlier on. They'll move up through the order quite nicely, thank you very much. And Alex Zanardi now comes into the pits. Bobby Rahal is in as well at the same time.
Here is the race leader then. Rob Hill and crew go to work. Tyres there, 35 laps to go, and fuel is just enough to make it to the end of this race. 10.2 seconds. A little bit slow getting going. I'm slightly surprised it wasn't that, a little bit quicker than that. But back into the fray. Don't exceed the speed limit, Alex Zanardi, as he rejoins the race. Jimmy Vasser actually went past him. So there goes. You just saw a flash of Jimmy Vasser go past Alex Zanardi. He's still not on the lead lap because Greg Moore has yet to make a pit stop. But it's all excitement here now.
Yeah, that's right. Bobby Rahal had a quick stop because he came out ahead of Alex by the looks of it there. They were slow. They couldn't release that fuel hose. That's the same problem that Paul Tracy had a few moments ago. They just couldn't get the fuel hose out again. There's Greg Moore. This is a critical stop. Now let's see whether yeah, that came out really well. Very quick release. They spray the water on, and away he goes again. A bit too much wheel spin perhaps, but he gets away pretty cleanly, and that's an excellent stop for him.
Richie Hearn in the last, I think, of the leaders to make a pit stop behind him. So that's 194. Greg Moore in the pits. He rejoins the race. Jimmy Vasser comes past, and I think will take the lead. There goes Jimmy Vasser to take the lead of this motor race with just over 30 laps to go.
Jimmy Vasser's been in great form all afternoon, apart from the miscue in the pit lane when he stalled it and lost time and would drop down to 11th place. He's been one of the setters throughout this event, and now he's up front. Now Richie Hearn's just being reminded on the radio about cold tyres. No tyre warmers in this form of racing, remember, and with the cold temperatures that we're seeing here today, they really have to be cautious. We've already seen what can happen to Michael Andretti when he tried to get going on a restart, lost it completely, hit the wall hard, and that was pretty bad news. We've just heard that Vassar should be able to go all the way through. That shouldn't be a problem. He refueled plenty.
He stopped on lap 165, so that's just 60 laps to go. That should be fine. That should be no problem for Jimmy Vassar. He now holds a comfortable lead of 3.1 seconds over his teammate Alex Zanardi. So two different strategies there. A pretty interesting gamble by Chip Ganassi's team, but it's paying off so far. They are in first and second place. There is Mauricio Gugelmin running fourth behind Greg Moore.
Right, so Gugelmin's having a good run. De Ferran in fifth, Paul Tracy is in sixth, Robbie Gordon is in seventh, Brian Herter eighth, Bobby Rahal in ninth, and Patrick Carpentier in 10th position.
Which club does Oliver Bierhoff play for? Real Betis, FC Porto, or Udinese? It's your turn to play. You have the chance to win one of 3 pocket video game stations with a football simulation game offered each week. And that's not all. You could also win a Eurosport cap. Call the hotline right now and you'll get an extra clue. And good luck.
The Fiesta's in Spain this Wednesday night because it's the Spanish Cup final. Top of the league, Barcelona looking good for the double against fourth-placed Mallorca. Two of the top sides in Spain. Get ready for a hot-blooded cracker. Arriba, man. The Spanish Cup final, Wednesday evening at 2100 CET, 8 UK, live on Eurosport. The FIM World Motorcycling Championship is moving into Europe. The third Grand Prix of the season from Jerez in Spain. Set amongst the hills in a natural amphitheatre, the circuit holds almost 250,000 spectators, and you can be part of it all weekend. The Spanish Grand Prix from Friday at 1300 CET, noon UK, live on Eurosport.
The battle is on between the two Ganassi teammates now. Jimmy Vassar leads this race, and we've got 21 laps still to go. Alex Zanardi right behind him in second place, though, and what a battle this is turning into.
You had right ahead of them the two Team Rahal cars of Brian Hurt, who seems to be struggling on this last stint, and there is Robbie Rahal right behind him, and they're the two Ganassi cars. Vassar trying to get a good run off turn 2, so he's not held up, but Rahal moves to the inside of Herter and blocks Jimmy Vassar. Zanardi now, can he get a run off this corner?
Watch Zanardi, he's got a good chance here, although Vassar's found a nice way through past Herter, and in fact Zanardi loses out because Herter shuts the door on him, as is quite should do, but Zanardi there lost out a few lengths, and now he's got to fight away past Herter. This has given Jimmy Vassar a little bit of breathing space, and just look at Vassar, he's charging through the traffic, he really is going for the gaps.
Yeah, he has to at this stage. He knows Alex Zanardi's not going to take the prisoners, but Greg Moore is right behind Alex Zanardi. They're both with another lap on Max.
Oh no!
Mauricio Gugelmin in the wall.
Yeah, Mauricio Gugelmin has had a heavy impact against the wall, and the yellow flag comes out for our 7th caution period. It's going to take a while to clear up, but the question is whether they're going to be able to rerun. I think they will, but we've completed 207 laps out of 225. This one is going to take a little while to clear up, and it's obviously a bad day for Pac West today. We saw Mark Blundell have a heavy contact against the wall earlier on in the race, and now Mauricio Gugelmin repeats the same thing. So it really isn't a good day for Bruce McCaw and the boys.
Shame there for those guys. It's a good run for Mauricio Gugelmin. 4th place there. He'd have been very happy with that, I think. First race with that car, as you say. And they really just needed a good finish to get themselves back on track.
Yeah, great shame. And Mauricio's still sitting in the car at the moment. The drivers will tend to stay in the cars until the safety crews come and find them, particularly if they've been at all bashed around. These cars are remarkably strong, of course. Built very, very strongly, and they have to go through a series of tests to make sure that they're okay for racing. On the ovals, of course, the impacts against the wall are very, very high when it goes wrong, and that's the reason, for example, there's a much longer distance between the driver's feet and the tip of the nose cone, and there's 2 bulkheads, effectively, between the driver's feet and the point of contact with the wall. There's a great deal of space there to absorb the energy. Of course, often on these type of ovals, as we've seen today, Jeremy, the shot is often backwards. That could often cause some back or neck problems, can't it? Because the impact is obviously pretty high as they go to back it into the wall.
Yeah, but again, big strides in safety. There's a neck collar that protects the driver's head, and that's made an enormous improvement. Here is the top 6 there: Jimmy Vasser, Alex Zardi, Greg Moore, and Gilles Lefferin at the front.
So a quick look through the order there. Bobby Rahal we're on board with at the moment, and Bobby is lying in 7th position, just ahead of teammate Brian Herter. That was a fairly dramatic pass just a moment ago on his teammate, and as you can see, once they're out there, it's just races together. It doesn't really matter whether he's teammate or not, or whether Bobby's team boss or not. They're just out there racing wheel to wheel. Richie Hearn we're looking at the moment, lying in 10th position, and Richie having a better run than he's had for quite a long time, I have to say. As you mentioned earlier, Jeremy, he had a good run here last year as well. Obviously, he likes this place, and that Swift chassis working well now. It does look as though Maurizio may have suffered some back or neck trouble in that accident against the wall. It must have been a fairly hefty shunt.
Yeah, any shunt on this track is hefty, and they'll be just taking care. You can see Maurizio looks pretty relaxed there, I'd say. I think they're just being taking every precaution. They're being just not taking any risk whatsoever, and they will put a backboard. In actual fact, with a rear impact, that is standard procedure to use the backboard or a neck collar if the guy doesn't hop out under his own steam right away.
Looking there at Robbie Gordon still running in 6th place, and you have to say that's a tremendous effort, isn't it?
It certainly is. He run very well indeed. It's interesting, since those he, Vasser and Herter, of course, elected not to make a second stop earlier on in this race. They're only a different strategy than everybody else. It certainly paid off for Robbie Gordon, and Brian Herter, however, has certainly been struggling since he put on that last set of tyres. He's fallen back. Robbie Gordon got past him, and an excellent 6th place now for Robbie Gordon. Herter, of course, we saw just being lapped right before this last caution involving Mauricio Gugemi, so Herter is a lap down now in 8th position.
On board now with Jimmy Vasser then, the man who won the championship for the Ganassi team some while ago now, 1996, not too long ago. They, of course, the team still looking to become a 3-time champion team. It really would be quite a major achievement if they could manage that, from Vasser to Zanardi, and then one of them perhaps to win it again this year. Well, they certainly got a chance. They've both been competitive throughout the season so far.
Yeah, Jimmy was certainly saying after Zanardi won the championship last year, Jimmy said, well, how about 2 out of 3? He's going for the majority here.
Maurizio Gugemi obviously taking a bit of time to get him out of the car, and being very, very careful with him, using those braces, and a special brace that they have developed just for this type of event. If there's any neck pain, any stiffness at all, then they will use that straight away, and that's obviously to make sure that there's no undue movement in the back. An absolutely critical thing when you're getting people out of damaged cars. And the medical facilities here, absolutely tremendous. They have this mobile medical centre which goes to all of the racetracks, and it's completely fully equipped. They can carry out operations in there. Obviously they have helicopter links as well to the nearest hospital. Dr. Steve Olvey is the Director of Medical Affairs. He's very experienced now. He's the boss of the kart safety team, and it was a team that was created after the 1981 Michigan race. That's when they really got serious about this whole safety issue. And it's a team that works very hard to make sure these drivers are well looked after.
Carl Horton was the first guy who really got this safety team up and running, and fantastic strides Carl made. He was a distributor of various types of medical equipment, and he really made this a state-of-the-art rescue and protection system, let's say, for all the drivers on this circuit, and it's been enhanced every year since then. It's really a first-class medical facility there. It's available to these drivers and the team of doctors that goes around with the FedEx Championship Series.
That's right, they have specialists in orthopedic surgery, trauma, dealing with trauma as well. And the medical centre here actually deals with some sort of 40 to 60 people over the course of a weekend normally, and that's just sort of minor problems, minor ailments, cuts and bruises, all sorts of things. There are a lot of team members here, of course, over the weekend, a lot of personnel involved in the whole championship, and that's an important part of it.
1,000 people made the trip to Japan as part of the circus, let's say, and anybody who holds a hard card, who is a regular attendee at the races, in terms of the crews or even the journalists, I must say. We're able to use that facility if required.
The car is still behind the pace car. 214 laps have been completed now, and still 11 laps to go. I wonder if we're going to get a chance to get this race restarted. The situation still looking pretty... well, a lot of time still required to clear things up just over here. Maurizio Gugelmin now in the ambulance, being taken over to the medical centre, but there's still a lot of clear up with the car to be done.
Yeah, boy, there is a lot of work to be done. There's only 11 laps to go. The pace car lapping around about 1 minute, so if they were to stay under caution, that would be another 10 minutes or so. That's a lot of work required in the next 10 minutes to get it ready for racing, but well, I hope we go greening and have a pretty interesting race with the two Target Chip Ganassi cars at the front of the field, and in between them there is the shell car of Brian Herter, 1 lap down, and between these two Target Ganassi guys.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And Greg Moore, of course, not far behind. And then Gilles de Ferran, Paul Tracy, Robbie Gordon. We've got some pretty feisty racers up there.
Yeah, it's funny how we see Herter and Zanardi together on the racetrack towards the end of just about every single race. But Herter's a professional. He's not going to get in the way, I believe, of Alex Zanardi. And I think he realised at this stage in the game that Zanardi has a much faster car. I think we'll see Herter let Zanardi go through at the restart and let those two duke it out. Maybe, who knows, maybe they'll tangle together and maybe Herter will make a place or two out of this at the end of the day. But certainly, he was one of the first to congratulate Alex Zanardi 3 weeks ago in Long Beach after Zanardi's fantastic move towards the end of that race.
Yeah, it's a pretty astonishing performance here, and we've got a Honda 1-2 at the moment. If de Ferran got past Greg Moore, we'd have a Honda 1-2-3. They've never managed that before. But what we are looking at is a possible first ever Firestone victory here at Nazareth. We've got Firestone 1, 2, 3 at the moment, so it's pretty unlikely we're going to lose all 3 of them on the run to the checkered flag. You never know. I mean, look what happened to Michael Andretti, and that is a point, because if they do get going again, the tyre temperature will be right down again, won't it?
Yeah, I think the temperature certainly picked up a little bit now. What's the time now? Just exactly noon, and it's certainly several degrees warmer than it was earlier on in the race. Plus, they've all got used tyres here. They're all the tyres are well scrubbed in, and they should be in pretty good shape. Also, of course, Robbie Gordon, still a best result there for Toyota, 6th place for him.
Well, if he can hold on to that, let's see what happens. Still some laps to go, some 9 laps to go here, and we'll just have to see whether they're going to be able to run them.
Where is the Camp Nou Stadium? Spain, Switzerland, or Poland? Each week, Eurosport gives you the chance to win a portable mini-disc player recorder or one of the numerous Eurosport t-shirts. To play, call right now, and Eurosport will give you an additional clue. Good luck.
The FIM World Motorcycling Championship is moving into Europe. The 3rd Grand Prix of the season from Jerez in Spain. Set amongst the hills in a natural amphitheatre, the circuit holds almost 250,000 spectators, and you can be part of it all weekend. The Spanish Grand Prix from Friday at 1300 CET, noon UK, live on Eurosport.
We have 7 laps to go here, but they're still behind the pace car, and we reckon that they are going to go green, though, in a lap and a half time, so we should be in for a pretty thrilling climax to the end of this race. Let's look at what happened to Maurizio Gugelmin. Jeremy, just talk us through it.
Down the back straight there, down into turn 3. There's a slower car ahead of him. He certainly seems to make a gear shift there. He realizes he's lost control, takes his hand off the wheel, doesn't want to get that snap of the steering wheel just to cause any problems to his wrists. But our certainly best wishes are with Maurizio Gugelmin. We hope he's going to be okay and back in action for his home race in Brazil next in 2 weeks' time. The cars, of course, leave over the weekend, next weekend, so as you say, a lot of work to be done by the Pac West Racing.
So 1 lap to green. Here we go. This is going to be fun, isn't it? When they come across the line, they'll have completed 220, so that'll actually mean 5 laps of racing to go. And Jimmy Vasser versus Alex Zanardi. Last thing they want in the world is to take each other off, but they both want to take the win. It would be either of their first ever win. Yep, the pace car's off. It would be either of their first win on a 1 mile oval on a short oval track, or as short as they get in champ car racing. Here we go. Jimmy Vasser's ready to go to turn 3. And
gets on a great jump off the corner there by Jimmy Vasser, and certainly the next 2, well, I think Herder wasn't held that too bad, but certainly Zanardi was hanging back a little bit to try and get a run on Herder, and that's enabled Jimmy Vasser
key moment as he comes up to turn 3 again. Zanardi is still behind Brian Herter. He hasn't managed to find a way past yet. Jimmy Vasser's been in very brave, courageous and committed form, I have to say, here today. He's been dealing with traffic brilliantly. He's been fast on the restart, and that was pure evidence of that. He got on it straight away. He wasn't worried about what happened to Michael Andretti earlier, who spun it out of turn 3. Herter moves out of the way completely on this lap, but Zanardi surely is too far back to do anything now. He's 1.5 seconds behind last time round. This time as they go past, it's 1.6 seconds. Greg Moore is in 3rd place there. He's now got to try and deal with Brian Herter's car. Then De Ferran in 4th. Tracy is 5th. Bobby Rahal is in 6th place. 7th for Robbie Gordon and 8th place for Brian Herter. This car that the leaders are trying to lap at the moment. Jimmy Vasser stormed away there. Alex Zanardi now trying to close it down. He's gained about half a tenth of a second on that last lap, but nothing more than that. And there are only 2 laps to go. So 2 miles to Jimmy Vasser's first ever 1 mile oval victory. This will be his 6th career victory if he can manage it.
He worked so hard with his race engineer Julian Robertson, who's formerly with Lotus in Formula 1, to make this car handle for a race distance. Boy, does he seem to be successful. Struggled, as we said a little bit earlier on Friday morning, but a fantastic job by Jimmy Vasser.
Here he comes then, final lap, last corner. Jimmy Vasser is going to win at the Nazareth Speedway. Round 4 of the championship, and we have a 4th different winner this season. It's the first Firestone victory of the championship at this particular track. Zanardi finishes 2nd, Moore is 3rd, De Ferran in 4th place, Paul Tracy is 5th, Bobby Rahal 6th, Robbie Gordon in 7th place, Brian Herter 8th, Tony Kanaan is 9th, 10th for Richie Hearn, 11th for Christian Fittipaldi, and the last point scorer, Michel Jourdain Jr. The 2 Ganassi teammates, they've done it at last. They've won on a 1 mile oval, and very suitably, as Chip Ganassi announces his plans to run a 1 mile oval race in Chicago.
Great effort by Jimmy Vasser. Lap 199 was a 19.6. I reckon that's probably the fastest lap of the race, just when he needed to do it. Alex Zanardi was able to match him up until then. A 19.8 was Zanardi's best up until that point. And there is Jimmy Vasser, absolutely delighted. Oh, he's waving. There is Alex Zanardi, of course. He's equally thrilled. Great points for him in a championship. That'll move him up probably into the lead of the championship, actually, ahead of Greg Moore. It'll be a couple of points almost tied together. We'll work that out for you in a couple of moments. But tremendous 1-2 finish for Target Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yeah, really great effort from the team again. And you have to say this team is still a #1 team, if not the #1 team. They've had some pretty good opposition so far this year already, remember. We've seen Newman Haas winning a race. We've seen Patrick Racing win a race. But now Ganassi have won 2 races in a row. Alex Zanardi in Long Beach and Jimmy Vasser here. And it's the first 1-2 result since Mid-Ohio last year. Brilliant team performance then. Chip Ganassi just showing that this team is still on top form, and the motivation, the commitment, even after winning 2 championships in 2 successive years, seems to be as strong as ever. Down there in winner's circle, and Jimmy Vasser getting the congratulations from his delighted crew.
It's the power, baby.
Great pictures, and we've got a man with a microphone ready and waiting to talk to Jimmy Vasser just as soon as he can get that crash helmet off.
And he has to go out the opposite side of the car.
Look at this. Great stuff. Alex Zanardi and Jimmy Vasser giving each other a hug. There's a lovely relationship between these two. They've really become firm friends. It happened pretty early on when they started racing together, and it's just seemed to have deepened. They really get on well. They share an awful lot of information, and they shared a great result here. Let's hear from Jimmy.
He'll get Tim down here and get a word with him in just a half a second. Jimmy, how much of a surprise to you was this performance?
Well, I knew we had a great test here about 3 weeks ago, and we've been working really hard trying to get our 1 mile oval car ready, and we knew it was better, but we took a chance, you know, and luckily they had to stop under the green too, and my crew did a good job getting me in and out. And, you know, it's too bad for Mike there. Mike would have been tough, but we had a good race car today, and I'm not surprised we won.
It ends up with a 2-stop strategy for you, a 3-stop strategy for your teammate, and you're both here virtually at the same time. That, I think, would qualify as another surprise.
Yeah, I was questioning them staying out because we stayed out and they stopped, but then they ended up right behind us. So essentially, they had more fuel than us and they were right behind us. So, but it worked out for the better.
Well, where's Alex Zanardi? We're looking for him. We see Chip Ganassi over here. As you can expect, it's always bedlam.
Great success for Jimmy Vasser and for the team, for Ganassi Racing. A 1-2 result here, Greg Moore in third. They're the final results, and in the championship terms, good news for Greg Moore, who now leads the series, but Alex Zanardi's just 1 point behind him now. So fantastic in the championship, it couldn't be much closer. Zanardi and Moore separated by just a point. As you look on down the list, Tony Kanaan finished as the top rookie. Another good effort from him, 9th place, and he'll continue to lead the rookie series. Further down the list, we saw accidents, the likes of Maurizio Gugelmin, Michael Andretti, and for Mark Blundell, and we hope that none of those guys are seriously hurt as a result of the accidents they had here at Nazareth today. A lot of drama. We had a delayed race, a race that couldn't be run on Sunday. Beautiful conditions here on the Monday, and a very exciting race to see Jimmy Vasser come through for the victory. 2 weeks' time, we're going to be going to Rio, and that's going to be a fun track too, Jeremy.
It certainly is. It's a very, very different kind of oval track. They shift down 2 gears at each end of the racetrack. That's going to be a fabulous race as well. Don't miss that one.
That'll be round 5 of the championship, a championship that is already proving to be an incredibly close and exciting one. From Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw, thank you for joining us. Join us again in 2 weeks' time.
NASCAR, kart, the Motorcycling World Championship, Superbike, the STW, the BTCC, the Andros Trophy. Those are just some of the motorsports you can check out on Eurosport. Our engines are revving.
Is a special presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Ipanema, Copacabana, Samba and Sunshine. The Champ Cars are in Brazil. Hello and welcome from Ben Edwards and Guy Hobbs to our coverage from the Emerson Fittipaldi Speedway, Rio de Janeiro. Round 5 of the FedEx Championship Series, and it's the 3rd time that they've run a kart race here in Brazil. The crowd turning up. It's Mother's Day in Brazil, so a lot of mums are being celebrated by their sons and daughters, and that certainly meant the crowd was a bit weak this morning, but they're beginning to pile in, ready for the start of this race. It's a race which promises to be an exciting one, and it's a race which sees Dario Franchitti start from only his 2nd ever pole position. It's his 1st ever pole on an oval track. A brilliant performance from the Scotsman, the first British driver to be on pole since Nigel Mansell at Michigan in '94. Reigning champion Alex Zanardi starts alongside him. The 2nd row of the grid is an all-Brazilian affair. The rookie Tony Kanaan sees the more experienced driver Gil de Ferran alongside him. There's another Brazilian on the 3rd row of the grid. He's alongside Brian Herter, who's still looking for that elusive first victory. Championship leader Greg Moore is a 4th row of the grid. His title lead only 1 point. Michael Andretti is desperate for a good result.